This is Paul Sandeman with Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have more fun. I have with me today Gene Slade of Lead Ninja. Now, I'm excited about today because, no offense, most of you guys and girls suck at selling. I mean, let's just be honest here, okay? Right? And so this is one you really need to listen to, because I guarantee someone like him can probably double your business in a year. You see his testimonial page. It's amazing. So listen up, because this is something you all need to do, because in my experience, after 50 years of doing this, I'm an old guy, most contractors suck at selling. It's just not something they like to do, right? And yet it's probably the most important thing to do in their business. So Gene Slade is an expert in this. Listen up. I'm going to give you some great advice. So Glenn, tell me, how'd you come up with the name of Lead Ninja?
Well, first, I've got to let you know that my mom and my dad named me Gene.
Gene.
But my entire life, people have looked at my name and then their brains said Glenn. So you're not the first one for sure.
Okay, my brain's broken. What can I say? I was watching something the other day and you had to read a whole paragraph, right? And nothing was spelled right, but your brain automatically figured it out. So I'm going to go with Gene. Well, that's a good start here. Thanks for my correction, Gene. Appreciate it. My brain was looking at the, I'll show you the way a brain works, right?
Exactly. So what was your question again?
Okay. How'd you come up with the name, Gene, of Lead Ninja?
Well, that's a good question. The company I owned before was an air conditioning company, and we named it Air Genie, right? Kind of a play on words with my name. But afterwards, after I sold that company and I was looking to do something else, Lead Ninja, like I always kind of like Genie, Ninja, things like that. Right. But when I owned my air conditioning company, I had a very successful radio show that played on the weekends, and it was on conservative talk radio, and it was generating 2,000 to 3,000 new clients for my business every year. And so when I decided to come out of like semi-retirement, I thought, maybe I can take this radio show and I can license it or swap the names out, put a different telephone number in, and play this very successful radio show for other contractors across the country. And so I was going to be generating leads for them. And I just thought that the name Ninja sounded cool, right? It probably wasn't the best name in the world that I could have come up with the business, but sometimes I'm the kind of guy that once I make a decision, I dig my heels in a little bit and I don't change unless it's absolutely necessary to change. So that's how Lead Ninja, the name, came about.
Okay. So Gene, tell me about, what you do, how you do it. I've looked at your website. Obviously you're a sales trainer guy, right? So question one, what makes you special? Why? There's a lot of sales training out there. Why should someone choose you versus a bunch of other sales trainers who are available?
Man, another good question. So in order to share that, I think I've got to tell you a little bit of a story. And the story was that my father owned his own heating and air conditioning business when I was young. And it was just him, just one man in a truck. And when I was 11, he said, "Boy, if you want food, you want clothes, come to work." So I did, and I became his helper. So I came up through the trades, plumbing and air conditioning, because my uncle owned a plumbing company, and eventually ended up starting my own company. And when I started that company, it was not a traditional air conditioning company. Matter of fact, the first 2 years that we were in business, we didn't even sell an air conditioner or a furnace, not even one of them. Our motto was, we don't sell air conditioners, we just make yours run better. And it was in a time where the economy was doing some of the things that it's doing right now. This is back in 2008. And what I had recognized working for and managing other companies was that about 80% of the time when we go out to a lead or a tune-up or something like that, there's not really a replacement opportunity on the table. What I mean by that is we're not probably going to replace a furnace or an air conditioner on 80% of the calls that we go to, which ended up leading to those calls being very unprofitable. I don't know if people know this, but it costs about $250 to $300 just to get somebody out to your home. Like, those are real costs. And what I saw was that that service department or that maintenance department was sucking up all of the profits from the replacements. And so I got really good at selling indoor air quality and water treatment devices that really make a huge difference in people's lives, and they attach to heating and air conditioning systems. As a matter of fact, you can put $10,000 to $15,000 worth of accessories to clean the air and purify the air. And so that was how I went to market. We'd sold $1.6 million just in air quality stuff before we ever relented and decided to go ahead and sell our first air conditioning system. So you're asking what makes Lead Ninja different. What makes us different is that we are the best in the world at helping people to learn how to sell indoor air quality and water treatment devices. I can sell equipment all day long, but we help companies to make money when there's not an equipment replacement opportunity on the table. That way, we don't drain all of the profits from the replacement department. Mm-hmm. And that's the big, big game changer with Lead Ninja. And we get the client to come to their own conclusion that something needs to be done. What I mean by that is we will go out into a customer's house that has a furnace or air conditioning system, and we begin to ask questions or deliver our information in the form of a question. And here's what I mean by that.
Give me an example of how you do that.
Yeah. So if I was going to sell a surge protector for an air conditioning system or a whole house, if I was an electrician, I would begin to ask the client questions that started with the words, did you know? Were you aware? So you didn't know? So you weren't aware? Would you suppose and do you believe? Or would you believe and do you suppose? Either one of them. Those are the 6 like fundamental ways that we turn information into questions, right? Because I know, Paul, that you have been having a conversation with somebody before, tell me if I'm wrong, where they talked a lot and you were listening. And did you ever have a situation where they were talking and all of a sudden you kind of went on a daydream, a little day trip, and
my
you weren't
thing
really listening?
The less you talk, the smarter you are.
Yeah, right.
The client.
The 2 most pleasant sounds to anybody's ears are their name and the sound of their own voice. So you want them doing the talking, right? But there are situations where we have to talk. So let's go back to the surge protector example. I would sell a surge protector utilizing nothing but questions. And here's how I do it. First question is, why don't you have surge protection?
I go to what surge
Shut
protection?
up, right? Most people know what that is, right? Because they've got one on their television or something like that. Right. And normally the client responds, I don't know. Or they might even say, I don't know. Why didn't you guys talk to me about that when you replaced my system, 3 years ago? Right. And we'll go, I don't know. I wasn't here. But did you know that we get over 1 million cloud to ground lightning strikes a year here? And when that happens, we get in-home surges. And did you know that when you get an in-home surge, that your compressors and your motors can glow cherry red on the inside? Do you think that's good? What do you suppose that does to the reliability of your system? How about the lifespan? Have you ever purchased a new compressor before? So you weren't aware that a new compressor could be $3,000 to $4,000? Can you see now why our clients just put surge protection in instead of replacing expensive compressors, motors, and maybe a whole system? Now, those are all questions. Yet I was giving information. And the reason that you guys want to give questions is because when I'm asking you a question, can you tune out? Can you take that day trip that we were talking about?
No,
pay attention. I ask you thought-provoking questions, right, that require your attention, right? And so that's where a lot of salespeople make huge mistakes, is talking too much. Like you said, we talk our way out of more sales than we'll ever talk our way into. And this is kind of a unique style that we've brought to the market that is just wildly successful, because the client comes to their own conclusion that something needs to be done, which is game changer. So many salespeople out there are trying to sell value and trying to sell benefits and everything for products that clients don't even think they have a problem that needs to be solved. So those are the main things that make.
Okay, now next question. It's said that good salespeople are born and not created. I'm sure you've heard that before, right? So how do you because
Yeah,
because a lot of people out there, I mean, you think of being a salesperson, think a used car salesperson, you think of somebody who's not more interested in themselves than the other person. And in general, sales, especially service sales in HVAC, has a bad rap, I think. So how do you help
sure.
people overcome that internal prejudice about, I don't want to be a sales guy?
Well, if I could say one thing before I answer that question, it would be that I really disagree that good salespeople are born and not made. Like that, Zig Ziglar used to talk about that, and he said that when you say you're a natural born salesperson to somebody, that it discredits all of the work that they put in to hone their communication skills and be great at their craft. Right. So
Okay.
it's not true that good salespeople are born. Every last one of us is made. Right. So
Okay.
getting back to the other question, which was how do you keep them from going into, are you talking about like salespeople themselves not
I think a
wanting
lot
to
of it
feel
is
or
self-image kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they don't, as they say, I'm an awesome salesman. A lot of people would not be proud to say that. I think it's awesome, but I think Jesus Christ and Buddha were
yeah,
great salespeople, and so is Mahatma Gandhi. But that's just my opinion, right?
yeah.
So, how do you help people deal with their own self-worth? Is that something you deal with in sales?
Well, we deal with it in the coaching aspect of our business for sure. And, it's all about what has been put between these 2 years from the time that you were born until now, right? What people don't realize is that without salespeople, our entire economy would grind to an absolute halt, right? And real, true professional salespeople, they're not the guy that's got the chains on that talks fast. Like if a professional salesperson walked into the room, you wouldn't even know it. They're chameleonic. They and they're listening to help, right? If you want to be a great salesperson, you've got to be out there doing it for the client, not to the client, right? Never ever think about your money while you're in the house or on an appointment. Don't ever think about your commission. Think about the client and how to do the right thing for them. Because I'm telling you, if you will do the right thing for the client, if you will care about them, they will know that you care. And if they know that you care, they will share their wealth with you. So
Mhm.
it's really something that takes time to change that mindset.
Right.
And some of us have got a poor self-image. And, Paul, I didn't realize that I had a poor self-image until I was about 29 or 30 years old. And I was listening to a Zig Ziglar series. And I think that's something that a lot of us don't know. We don't know whether or not we've got a poor self-image. And if your outside world is a reflection of your inside world, right? So I think affirmations can help, right? Just one thing I would say to all the salespeople out there, people that want to get good at sales. Shoot, I just had a squirrel moment and I freaking lost it. Oh, no negative self-talk. Stop talking negatively to yourself and start building yourself up. Talk to yourself the way that you would talk to a child that you really loved, right? Stop beating yourself up. Stop telling yourself you're stupid. Stop telling yourself you always fail. You need a checkup from the neck up.
Right.
If
Because
that
your
makes any sense.
subconscious is always listening, right? It's never turned off, right?
Always. It's running your life. It's
Right.
running
I was
it's running
watching
everything
a
that you
video, I was
do.
podcast there
Your
that said
belief
that
system.
95% of your actions controlled by your subconscious, right? So whatever that's programmed, and usually programmed between 0 and 7, you're going to do. So now tell me
Yeah.
some specifics about how you took someone who was not particularly good at sales, say in HVAC or plumbing or electrical, and transform them into a successful salesperson with a higher closing ratio, a higher, average size sale, those kind of things. How do you do that?
Well, it's different for everybody because we all come with our own mental garbage, right?
Mhm.
Now, I don't think that I can take somebody who's horrible at sales, that doesn't want to do sales, and make them successful. But if somebody has a will and a desire to succeed, absolutely 1,000%, we can help that person. One really great example is a young lady whose name is Coral. And Coral was a CSR. She was an inside office, customer service representative. But she was pretty good with clients. And she came out to one of our live events when we had it in Michigan. And when she came back, her boss had her truck waiting for her when he picked her up at the airport. She went out and she made a couple sales that day. Her first 2 calls that she ran, she made sales on. This young lady was making about $30,000 a year as a CSR. Her very first year as a tune-up technician, she made a really healthy 6-figure income, over $150,000.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I've watched her from that point go to making $300,000 and $400,000 and $500,000 a year. This is a young lady who lived in a trailer when we met. Now she owns her own home. She's got 6 figures in the bank. I mean, complete transformation, right? And we see those kinds of stories all the time. But I will tell you, Paul, it is way easier for me to take somebody who is already decent at sales. You know what I mean? They're having some success. I'm not talking about the guys that they go out and they can't close the door. I'm talking about somebody who's average, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or better.
Yep.
Way easier for us to take somebody like that with a good attitude and make them a millionaire.
Wow. So how many companies have you guys worked with?
We've worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of companies and thousands of technicians. And it just depends on the month how many we're working with.
Wow. That's amazing. So tell me a little bit about, I was looking at your website, about you have a radio show. Is that actually true? You have like a radio show that you do produce for people? How's that work?
Well, the radio program is not something that we do a lot of anymore from a marketing perspective. The way that it used to work was that I would call up the radio stations. I'd find out what slots are available. I would produce the show, and then all the calls would be directed straight towards the clients. But what we found is that a lot of the client base has shifted from radio to what? Where's everybody
Social
on
media,
nowadays?
right.
Social media, right? So we're looking at redeveloping it for social media, but it's a completely different ballgame. On social media, you've got what, a second or 2 seconds to stop somebody in their feed, where with the radio show, we were on conservative talk radio. We had a full 30 minutes to an hour. We had a captive audience that was always there. And so it was a phenomenal product at the time. We still use it occasionally, mostly for bigger cities and clients that are bigger. Like, I need somebody who can, if I'm going to do a radio show for you, I need you to be able to handle an extra 30 to 40 new customers per week, right? Wow. And so if I have a client like that, then I'm willing to go ahead and do the show. But it's an undertaking, and it's a year-long contract in order to do it. And the biggest challenge that people were having or have had in the past is answering those calls. And what I mean is, like, if I have an hour-long show, throughout that show, there will be 6 different calls to action, 6 times where I'll stop and give away a discount for a tune-up, right? And when I do that, like in Dallas, we would have 12 people call all at the same time.
Wow.
And finding an air conditioning company that's got that kind of bandwidth is not easy. Where we do product that most people have never ever heard before, and it's called conversational AI. Have you heard of this, Paul?
No, tell me. I'm an AI fan, so tell me about conversational AI.
So this is absolutely freaking mind-blowing. And we've had it now for about 45 days or so, and we're just starting to launch it for our clients. But a conversational AI is a robot that sounds like you or me. And they can call you on the telephone, right? And the cool thing about it is that if I've got a customer base of, let's say, 5,000 people, and I've got holes in my schedule for my technicians or my employees, I can press a button and I can call 1 or 1,000 or 5,000 of my customers all at the same time running the exact same script and book those appointments like this. Like I can
It
book
sounds
1,000.
just like a person.
Yeah, it sounds just like a person. About 5% of the population so far has been able to determine that it was a robot. The only time they really do determine it's a robot is if it messes up, right? And the cool thing is it doesn't mess up the same thing more than once, because once it messes it up,
It learns.
we go in and fix it, right? Yeah. So now with the radio show, if I've got 12 people calling in all at the same time, I can actually accept all of those calls through my AI, ask them the questions I want to ask them, and put them right on the schedule. So it no longer requires, go ahead.
You're on my, I'm going to do a whole other podcast about AI. I want to do that with you because I'm a super fan. So question, how do you think AI is going to affect the construction industry? I think you sort of already answered part of that, right?
Man, it already is. The best way for me to answer that question is to tell you what's in development.
Okay.
The first thing that we're developing, and we're almost done with it, is the outbound telephone call. So it'll be outbounding to schedule appointments for existing maintenance agreement customers. It'll also be outbounding to existing customers who are not on a maintenance agreement to sell them tune-ups. And then it'll also be outbounding to lists or zip codes near the company where we want to bring in new customers to the company. So just that one module of outbounding, absolutely game changing for the contractor. No more shoulder seasons. No more, I don't have calls on the schedule. No more, I have to recruit, hire, train, retrain staff. I don't have to worry about an outbounding team, right? Because I have all of them in one agent. I don't have to worry about people showing up late, calling in sick, having baby mama or daddy drama, right? Like it doesn't make the same mistake twice.
Right. And now so, there isn't a rule yet, right? And they're thinking about it. So they haven't passed yet. They're trying to pass a rule that when it's AI, it has to say it's AI, but that may be a while in coming. So right now, if you're using AI to answer letters, to, even phone calls and stuff, there's no legal requirement to say that it's AI, right?
Right. And that will eventually get here. But it's like the gold rush right now.
Right.
So,
we have a window here, guys, and I would definitely take advantage of it, because pretty soon this is going to be the good old days when you didn't have to say you were AI and you got all the appointments you could possibly use for virtually nothing. And now it's all changed, and that could be 6 months or a year from now, right? Or 2 years.
It could be 2-3 years from now. Who knows?
Right.
But one of the coolest things about it, this outbounding scenario, if you've ever done outbound calling, it is arduous, right? It takes something emotionally to call 20 numbers and not get a success. This thing does not get frustrated.
Emotional.
It doesn't, there's no emotion at all. And as a matter of fact, if the client gets emotional, it'll get more empathetic.
I see.
So
I know I've talked with ChatGPT, and it's, are you having a good day? No. Well, then it starts like being a therapist. I've done that with ChatGPT sometimes. It's funny.
Yeah, so it's really cool. I had a call the other day where the client was so convinced that it was a human that they were talking to, that the last question it asked before we got off the phone was, it asked our AI, if you were to leave this earth today, do you know if you'd go to heaven or hell? And it literally handled the question. And the guy says, I want to let you know that Jesus loves you. Before I got off the phone, he died on the cross for you. And the AI says, man, Dale, I really appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate the sentiment. Is there anything else that I can help you about with your furnace tune-up? Like, it was just freaking mind-blowing.
Whoa, that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely mind-blowing.
Okay. So
the other thing that we're using it for, from changing the industry perspective, as you're talking about. And by the way, it's already twice as effective from a conversion rate perspective, and it's 1/5 of the cost of a human. So it's like a 10x efficiency increase.
Right.
We're also answering inbound calls from marketing, inbound calls in the evening, when instead of an answering service. We're using it for sales follow-ups, not right this second, but we're building that. We're building review modules. I mean, imagine a world where you have an AI sales manager who's able to help your guys
who's
close
managing
deals.
The other AI salespeople, right?
Right. So there's tons of cool things that we're using it for, and it is absolutely changing things at lightning speed in the trades.
Well, it's all exponential. I mean, we're using AI to screen resumes. It's sucked to begin with, but it's getting better and better as it learns, because we go through 2,000-3,000 resumes like a week, right? That's a lot of resumes.
Yeah.
And it's learning to, so it's changing that whole venue. So it doesn't take as many people to screen thousands of resumes. It does it first and we do it after that. So I can see how this is going to change everything. I mean, my personal belief, I think that, you know, I think there was fire, there's electricity, and now there's AI. I mean, that kind of game changer, right?
Yeah, it's wild. And man, when I came across this, I don't think I slept for a week. Like, my
Wow.
mind was racing, not just with excitement, but also fears, because it's brand
Well,
new.
you know, is it going to destroy the planet or save it? I mean, there's both sides, right? The one thing I found about AI is it's sort of like abortion. I mean, people definitely have an opinion. It's not like they're neutral on this one. Either it's the worst thing, it's going to destroy us all, they don't have anything to do with it, or it's amazing, it's going to save us all. But very few people like don't care, right?
Right.
They tend to be one way or the other. So an exciting talk. So if people want to get a hold of you, Glenn, how do they get in touch with you? Because I think everybody in this podcast should listen to Glenn, at least have a conversation with him.
It's
Because it
Gene.
sounds like I can pretty much guarantee he will be one of the best investments you're going to make.
Yeah, it's Gene again, but that's okay.
Gene,
The
my
best way-
brain, see, my AI is better than my brain. It doesn't make those mistakes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Gene?
So the best way to reach out to me is just to text me. And people think I'm crazy for giving away my cell phone number, but that's why God invented a block button, right? If you're a jerk, I'll just block you. But no,
Right.
I'm my phone number, just text me, is 239-848-6533. 239-848-6533. And then, you know, I'm on the social channels and stuff like that, but that's the fastest way to reach me.
So, Gene, how do I know if it's you or AI answering the phone?
Well, we don't have my voice programmed into it yet. We have my words programmed in, but not my voice. So
All right.
maybe in 6 months you won't know.
Oh, no,
But we are
right.
actually we're going to be building it out to be reaching out to contractors to sell itself.
That's awesome. And it's fairly, you know, it doesn't require a lot of revenue. You know, it's like its personal expenses are pretty low. Cool.
Very.
Okay. Well, thanks, Gene. I really appreciate you being on the show. It's been great. We'll have to do this again. Okay.
For sure, man. Sounds great. Thank you.